Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spiritual Readiness and the Time of Shift. Judging from the conversation that I've been having with my clients for the past week and a half, I can tell that the potential or of the second wave shutdown is having its effect on a lot of people. Many of you are depressed or panicked, have food or financial insecurities. Some of you are even on the verge of being homeless or had already moved and relocated as a way for you to try to manage the distress and the fear that this kind of a planetary event is creating for all of you. I can tell you that the planet as a whole is grieving. We're all grieving loss of relationship, loss of jobs, loss of opportunities, loss of freedom. And all these losses can be categorized in the 5 stages of grief, which is denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Now, when I'm still dealing with this personally myself, but when the first wave hit, I live in New York City, and when the first wave hit and we had to be on lockdown in May, I went to a deep, deep and dark place. It was actually March 21st. I went to a deep and dark place. And instead of trying to see this as a negative and trying to fight it by either trying to explain it, blame it on somebody, or for that matter, rationalize it in some way or another, I choose to internalize it and realizing that this experience is happening for my benefit. What can I derive through this experience? And I went deep within myself. And what I realized is that at the root of all of this for me was the fact that I was trying to survive. And this survival was rooted on a whole bunch of activity, and which is the way everyone is in 3D is trying to do, is that we're trying to survive. This is the modus operandi of this 3D reality. We're all trying to survive. But for me, the survival took a very specific thing. It was about me being in control. And the moment you're trying to control, it's because you've already lost control and you're trying to gain it back. And to that event, to that realization, I again begin to come to terms that whatever was happening with the coronavirus was actually an act of God. Now, I know a lot of you have different theories as to what happened and where it came from, and I'm not going to go into the conspiracy theory. What I want to say to you, that even if a cabal had created this, the event is now out of their control. Okay? And whatever is happening now is bigger than anybody else imagined it to be. I'm not saying that there are no bad actors that are trying to capitalize on this, but I'm trying to make you understand that in 2015, I foresaw this through channeling. And I foresaw a whole series of other events that are about to happen between now and 2027 that will dismantle the existing paradigm and belief system of the 3D survival environment and move us into a thriving dimension and a thriving reality. And for that to happen, the demolition is being orchestrated deus ex machina, outside of the system. And it is an act of God. There are things that are much bigger that are not being done by conspiracy theorists. So when you go into a space where you're beginning to feel fearful and panic and even depressed and you're bargaining, what you should be doing is ask yourself, what's the root cause for me? And the moment I realized for me that it was out of my control, it was an act of God, I then begin to do this breath control exercise to release my fear. I felt vulnerable. I felt terrified. I felt completely like I was being taken by forces that I couldn't control. And I release and I ask God, my higher power, to take this burden away from me. And the moment I did this, and I was able to surrender it, it's the moment that I begin to feel a peace and a serenity descend on me, and the healing began for me. And I was able to figure out what's the next move for me. To move me, instead of being in panic, in fear, and being dismantled with the survival, I begin to focus on the thriving, on the emerging reality that's coming, instead of worrying about how to explain, correct, resurrect, and fix what the events. It's not just this event, it's going to be a whole bunch of other events that are going to try to dismantle the survival reality. So I'm just trying to give you a heads up as to what's coming. And I will be teaching in greater details all of this on my Patreon page, the link for which you can find below. And if you join me as a supporter of the Patreon page, you will get all kinds of benefit, and there are three tiers in which you can subscribe. So if you do so, I will be able to get into this into greater detail. But for now, my suggestion to you is that whenever you are feeling depressed, and some people don't even know that they are depressed. It's not until they begin to realize that they are tired, they're exhausted, or they cannot sleep at night, or they're feeling that they begin to realize cumulatively that they're actually depressed. And get to the root cause. The root cause, the core of it is survival. And the survival for me was connected to me attempting to control what was crumbling all around me. And my realization was that I could not control it. And thus I emptied myself and I surrender my vulnerability to my higher power. And the moment I did this, I found peace. I hope this helps you. Please subscribe to the channel and give the video a thumbs up and like it, and join the Patreon page so that we can get weekly updates, energy updates, and ascension updates. And I'll talk to you next time. Thank you.